In this video, we will discover edit mode in Blender. So edit mode will let you manage the entire geometry of the mesh that you import, of the primitive you will work on. So let's try with maybe a monkey, okay? Let's add a monkey there, and we will keep it like that. We will not smooth it or any modifier into it. And let's go into edit mode for the first time. So you have the possibility to go there, and you see that you have a few here modes that are available in Blender, and we will go into the edit mode. So the interface will look different. We will have a few other tools here, and we will have different menus as well here. So first of all, you can see that you can access to all the little dots that we have, the edges and etc. And I will talk about it soon. And we have the possibility to enter in edit mode directly with the tab shortcut. So very easy to go from edit mode to object mode directly with tab shortcut. So you can switch to it directly like that. Very, very easy to manage like this. Okay, so now we will have the possibility to access to all the data of the mesh. So here, the data is composed by vertices, the little dots that you see here. Okay, vertices are linked together with edges, and you can select the edges like this. You can end multiple vertices, like 4 vertices here, will make a face, and you can select the faces as well with this mode here. The shortcut for it is 1, 2, and 3 to have the different selection modes: 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. Okay, so like this, you don't have to go there and to switch there, so it will be just tab, okay, and just with 1, 2, 3 you will select here directly the data that you want to manage. You can select, move, rotate, and scale the same way that you make it in object mode. So very efficient way to manage that. Okay, if you select multiple vertices or you select vertices like that, okay, you can scale it, scale the selection, you can make rotation on the selection, you can make movement, okay, you can grab the selection with G as well, and you can manage it with the same data that we did use, with the axis, with the numbers, if you want, for example, to move it into the z-axis, and 1 meter here, so you will have this kind of behavior. Okay, so yeah, very easy to understand when you understand a little how it works object mode. So you just enter into one object. Okay, you can enter into 2 objects as well. So when you have multiple objects in Blender, I come back into object mode with tab and duplicate here Suzanne. Okay, so let's take the Suzanne in the center. I can just select only inside the object I did select. Okay, and if I have multiple objects selected, I can enter in edit mode at in different objects at once. So it can be sometimes confusing. There are little things that you cannot make when you select multiple objects at once. Like for example here, let's say I will remove, because I can remove here a vertex or an edge or a face, and it will create a hole like this. Okay, you can see that I can remove it. And if I want, for example, to reconstruct the data here, the surface, I can select the all loop, and I will show you how to select that later, and make a face with F, okay? And or I could select 2 vertices like this and make an edge between the 2 vertices with F as well, okay? So yeah, not too complicated to manage this. But if I have two objects and that I want to link here, there's two vertices and try to make F, it will not work because Blender will not understand, can make a link between two objects because they are two separated objects. If you want to make that, you have to join the object with Ctrl J, okay? And now it's possible to make this. So it's important to understand that, okay? So yeah, you can select multiple objects at once and go into edit mode with multiple objects at once with some limitations, but it's already very important to understand that. The first shortcut that we did see, okay, it's to remove geometry. You can remove with delete, you can remove vertices, edges or faces. So for example, if I select this face, if I have this selection here, I can remove the face, okay? So with X or delete, you can just remove the face. If you delete the vertices, it will delete more geometry because vertices are linked to other data, okay? To other geometry around. And if you want to remove only faces, like for example, to keep this edge here, okay? So you will just remove and choose only faces, for example, okay? You can choose to remove some geometry and keep the surface behind. Like for example, if I want to remove this and keep the surface around, I just use the same way, but I will use the dissolve here and I will dissolve the geometry like that. But I still have a big face, strange one, but still have a big face here, okay? So the remove option can be very important to understand as well, because you don't have only the selection, the remove, and you remove the object. You have a few options to remove, okay? So for the selections here, it works more or less the same way. You can select more if you need here, select more, add to the selection, remove from the selection, okay? So yeah, it will be more or less the same way in object mode and in edit mode, okay? But for specific selections, like for example, let's add here a UV sphere like that. You will have different way of selecting here. You can select here, for example, a loop like this, okay? You can see that when you have some quads, and that's why it's important to model in quads, and I will talk about it later. What is a quad? It's a face with only 4 vertices, okay? Not more, not less. It's a quad. Now, if I select the loop, I can, because it's only quads. If I create some triangles there, maybe, okay, maybe I will take a selection like this or like that, and I will create some selection, and I have a little option there that helps me to make here with face here, the menu, we can make some triangulate faces, okay? So now if I try to select that loop, you can see that here at this point, it cannot follow because it doesn't understand when to continue, where to continue. So it will, yeah, maybe there, so it doesn't work. So yeah, that's why it's important to model in quads. So you have this kind of selection that is possible. You can select more with Ctrl plus, select less with Ctrl minus, okay? You can make a link between two points, like for example with Ctrl, you select the first one and you select the last one and it will select everything between the two. And you can add with the Shift, just add some selection like that, okay? So yeah, this is very important. The Alt key, select a loop. The Control key, select between two clicks, and here we have the shift to add. And you can make multiples like Alt and Shift Alt. Like this, you select more loops. When you have a selection like that, it can make very interesting shapes like this very easily, you see, because just with a scale, you have the possibility to manage this. So yeah, very important to know how to select loops, and yeah, that's why it was important this. The next thing is the different ways of manage here the faces. So you have different kind of faces here. You have the quads here. You have the triangles there, okay? And in some objects, I will just remove these two faces, these two vertices, and select the loop with Alt here and make a face with F, okay? So now we have here a handgun that is more than 4 vertices, and it can be a lot or less, but yeah, after 4 vertices it's an handgun. So there's different kind of faces will act differently when you select, when you make, for example, here, if I want to make a subdivision here, generate subdivision surface, you can see that in that area, it will not be as good as the rest, okay? So the subdivision will not work well here in that area. It will create a strange way to create faces here. So that's why it's important, especially when you model organic shapes, organic models, when you work on humans, when you work on animals, or yeah, everything that will deform or that you will want to smooth, it's important to model with quads especially. So yeah, mostly when you want to model in a good way, it's important to learn how to model with quads. That's why when you add a circle, for example, okay, let's add a circle. When you add a circle, it's always good to have an even number. Like for example, here I have 24 vertices. If I want to close this area, I can, but I can with quad, okay? And I have a specific shortcut for that. I can go to face here and use the grid fill menu, and it will give me only quads, okay? If I don't have an even number, it will not be quads. So it's very important to add always even number, yeah, except when you have a specific case that you really want something like a star, like a star with five arrows or something like that, okay? So that was another thing, and something that is important to it's here, the menus that you have. So you have vertices, start with V. You have edges, start with E. You have faces, start with F. And you have the 3 menus that are here, vertex, edge, and face. You can call these menus directly with Control E, for example, for edges, Control V for vertices, and Control F for faces. And you will find a lot of options that are related to the faces here, for example, or Control E, everything that is related to the edges, and Control V, sorry, for the vertices. Okay, so here you have a lot of little tools that we will explore into the next videos. You can see that you have a lot of possibilities to create more geometry. I will show you how to create that. When you can have multiple you can have multiple here geometries inside one object. For example, here I have a sphere, but if I select this dot here and with Control plus I select more and I duplicate this part, okay, so now it looks that I have 2 objects, but actually no, all the geometry is it's inside the sphere, okay? So for example, here in object mode now, I have only one object. I can separate objects, geometries into two objects if I need. For example, with L, now I can select here the parts that I want when they are not linked together. That's why it's L, it's linked geometry. And so now I can select this part with L, and I can separate with P. P will separate the selection, and now I have my two objects here, okay? So it's important to understand that you can have multiple geometries, multiple volumes into one object. That's important. You can create an entire city, for example, or an entire car. It will have a lot of different geometries, different parts inside, but it can be one object. It's always good to separate, actually, to can manage easily maybe the materials, or yeah, it's always good to separate, but in specific case, you can join everything together. So that's it for the introduction of the edit mode. You can go there as well. You can see that you have the modeling interface, and inside the modeling interface, it will be very similar from the other, from the layout, the classical layout here. It's just that you go directly into edit mode, into the selection, and the timeline disappears. So it's really focused on the modeling. So can help sometimes. Usually I like to keep the layout, and when I want to focus, I hide a little this, like this. I can call it when I want, okay? And that's it for discovering the edit mode. Into the next video, we will see the first part, because we have, as you can see, we have a lot of different tools here, and we will discover that into the next video. So I will have two parts for that.